Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A very warm welcome to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. This is Nitin Sridhar, Chief Curator of Indica Moksha Advaita Academy. Let me begin with a small prayer. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Sri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Yes, today we have a very special guest who is joining us all the way from New Delhi, Sri Swami Nikhilananda Saraswati ji. Thank you very much, Swamiji, for making time for this session. For those who do not know, a brief biography about Swamiji. Swami Nikhilananda Saraswati ji is the teacher of Advaita Vedanta and a disciple of Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji and Swami Paramananda Bharati ji. He was born in Mumbai and grew up strongly influenced by the lives and teachings of many saints. While he was studying master's degree in geology, he developed an interest in very deep interest in studying Shastras. After completing the traditional course on Vedanta at Sandeepani Sadhanalaya in Mumbai, he served in Chinmaya Mission teaching this ancient wisdom in various centers across India as well as abroad for 33 years. Since July 2019, he is working independently, not associated with any organization from New Delhi, guiding seekers in their spiritual pursuits. His video talks on Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, Prakarana Granthas, and many other texts are available on his YouTube channel. And he regularly does classes on Facebook Live. And presently, he is giving discourses on Upanishads. Swamiji, again, very warm welcome to you. Viewers, just to remind you, do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our Facebook page and Twitter handle for more updates about events like this and other things. Swamiji, with this very brief background introduction, I request you to start the session. For the benefit of the viewers, Swamiji will be speaking on a very important text today, that is Sri Ramana Maharshi's Upadesha Saram. Very wonderful text, very deep text, and hope all of you will greatly benefit from it. Swamiji, please go ahead and start.
I will begin with a prayer. Oh. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Hiranyagarbhaya Namaha. Om Shri Mahave Namaha. Om Shri Mahadevaya Namaha. Om Shri Mahadurgaye Namaha. Om Shri Ramaramaya Namaha. Om Shri Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shankaram Paramanandam Brahmanishtam Yatishwaram Bhashya Bhrantiharam Vande Shuddha Jnaneka Bodhakam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Namah Parvati Pataye, Har Har Mahadeva. Hari Om, all of you. Today, I will give a brief overview of this beautiful text, Upadesa Saram by Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi ji. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was an enlightened master, Brahmanishtha, and he has written many texts which are expression of his own realizations. So texts like Saddarshanam and this Upadesa and also Ramana Gita. Upadesa is a very short text, about 30 verses are there. And in this text, Bhagavan gives the essence of Upadesh. Upadesh means spiritual guidance or advice given to the spiritual seeker by the teacher, by a guru, Sadguru. So he gives the essence of this advice in this beautiful text, Upadesa. In the beginning itself, Bhagavan points out our main problem. He diagnoses our problem and then he goes on to give the solution. It's a very beautiful text. Though it is very short, it is very deep. And I will speak on it for these 2 sessions briefly. If we really want to go into the details, it will take many, many sessions. But briefly, I will give you the overview. The text is also beautifully sung. So first 2 verses diagnoses our problem. Let us chant the first 2 verses. Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam kritimaho dadho patana karanam phalam shashvatam gati nirodhakam. Bhagavan begins by saying that we get the results of our karma by the command of Ishvara. Kartuhu here means Ishvara. By Ishvara's command, by Ishvara's grace only, we get the results of our karma. Whatever karma we perform, not only karma, but whatever upasana and jnana, the karma phaladata, jnana phaladata, upasana phaladata is Ishvara alone. So karturatnyaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam. Karma by itself is not supreme. Karma is not a great path also, and it will not lead to our ultimate destination also. It is not supreme by itself. It is jada only, not. But at present we are stuck in the whirlpool of karma. That's what Bhagavan says, ki kriti mahodadho patana karanam phalam ashashvatam gati nirodhakam. That we are all stuck in this mash of karma, which itself is called samsara. At present, we are forced to perform various types of karma. And who is forcing us? Our own desires. We have lots of desires in our antakarana. And in order to fulfill those desires, we continuously perform various types of actions. And then sometimes we get the results according to our desire, sometimes we don't get. But we are constantly performing these actions and indulging in various results of these actions, which again gives rise to more desires, which again propel us into action. And again we perform various types of actions. So we are as though caught up in this whirlpool of actions. Bhagavan uses the term kriti maha udadhav. It's like a vast ocean of karma. And all our desires are ultimately to gain some happiness, peace. And therefore we strive, we put forth effort, but we never seem to get permanent peace, permanent happiness. We keep getting some traces of happiness, and again we are miserable, again we are sorrowful, and again we put forth effort. So this goes on and on. And this ocean of karma itself is called samsara. And we need to come out of this samsara. We want to be free of this samsara. We are as though bound in this samsara. So what exactly is the cause for this samsara that is being presented here? Bhagavan says, ki phalama shashvatam gati nirodhakam kriti maha udhadav patana karanam, that we have fallen into this ocean because of our attachment for our karma phala, and we are stuck. But if we just analyze this little bit, we will understand that I have this strong feeling of performing karma. I consider myself as the doer of action. I have desires, and the main desire is to be happy, to be peaceful, to gain all pleasures. And in order to gain those pleasures, I perform actions. And also, I pursue this world. I not only pursue my own body, I pursue my mind, my intellect, my senses, and I pursue this world. I am the knower of this world. So I am the knower of this world. I am the enjoyer in this world. And I am also the actor, performer of action in this world. That is my understanding about myself. That is what I consider myself to be. If somebody asks me who am I consider myself to be this person whom I see, this particular body, having a mind, intellect, senses, the material with which this body is made. I consider this body as myself. I consider the inner equipment also myself. And I also consider the activities which are happening as performed by me. So I consider myself as the doer, knower, and enjoyer. But if we think a little bit about this, because of this notion, I continue to act and continue to gain some pleasures, but I never seem to get the eternal happiness and peace. So if we analyze this situation of ourselves, we will find that we have some wrong notion about ourselves. To think that I am this body, and also to think that I am the doer, knower, and enjoyer is a false notion about myself. How do I know these are false notions? Because if you analyze your experiences, we have the waking experience, we have the dream experience, and we also have the deep sleep experience about myself. In the waking, I experience myself as the doer, enjoyer, knower of this world. In the dream, I experience myself as the seer of that dream. Though proactively, I cannot do anything there, but I am just a witness of the dream. But I also experience a strange state called Sushupti Avastha, the deep sleep state, wherein I get separated from my body, from my mind, from this world. And though I remain separate from everything, I exist there. Therefore, when I wake up, I say I slept very happily. So I know that I was there. And I know that I existed without the body, without the mind, without any contact with this world. And I also know that I existed blissfully. But when I wake up, I forget that state of mind and start identifying with my body, my mind. But in deep sleep, when I was alone, separated from everything, there was no activity happening in me. There was no knowing happening in me. There was no enjoying happening in me. There was no connection with the body, mind. And that is my real identity. That is what I am. That is who I am. But I don't know that. I don't know myself. I know my own existence, but I don't know my real nature. And this we can understand by analyzing our deep sleep. Bhagavan talks about it in Upadesa. He has spoken about it in Saddarshanam also. So I know I exist, but I don't know who am I. And this not knowing who am I itself is called avidya. In Vedanta, this is called avidya. And because of this avidya, because of this ignorance, not knowing who am I assume myself to be what I experience. I experience this body, I experience the mind, intellect, and I assume I am this body, mind. And I assume myself to be the doer, knower, and enjoyer. By observing the activities in the body, mind, I falsely assume that I am the doer, I am the knower, I am the enjoyer. So this ignorance has created false notion about myself. which is making me perform actions and run after various pleasures of this world, and that itself is creating more and more suffering for me. That itself is called samsara. So in order to be free of this samsara, we have to recognize who we really are. We have to know our own swarupa. We have to know our own identity, real identity. And to know our real identity and gain abidance in our real identity itself is the aim and goal of all spiritual sadhanas. And Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi also gives advice about this sadhana to us. Okay. So the first step in pursuing this path and gaining abidance in ourselves, Bhagavan also in the 10th verse of this Upadesa Saram, he says that ultimately through all our sadhana, Aristale manaswasthata kriya, bhakti yoga bodhascha nishchitam, that through all our sadhana, we have to gain abidance in our own supreme self, which Bhagavan calls Rit, the Hridaya. We have to gain abidance in our own self. We have to recognize ourselves. That self in Sanskrit is called Atma. Myself, I am called Atma. But my supreme nature is not understood. My supreme nature is called Param Atma, the supreme Atma. So my real nature is not known. So in order to know myself, first I have to prepare my own this mind and intellect properly, because all confusion we have in our waking state. Having that false notion is in the waking state. Our buddhi has got this wrong notion that I am the doer, knower, enjoyer, I am the body. So in the waking state itself, I have to gain proper understanding, first intellectual appreciation with the help of my buddhi, and thereafter gain abidance in my own self. So the first step is to tune my buddhi, my mind, my intellect, in such a way that I come to understand myself. And in order to tune my mind, intellect, the sadhana which is given in our Shastra, the first step is what is called Karma Yoga. And Bhagavan talks about this Karma Yoga in the 3rd verse. He says, Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. That you perform your actions. What actions? Your duties, which are prescribed to you by the Shastras, depending on your varna, ashrama, whatever duties are prescribed to you, depending on your age, your gender. Perform those duties. Fulfill all your responsibility towards yourself, towards your family, towards the society, towards the nation, towards the devatas, towards the ancestors, towards Ishvara, towards yourself. Fulfill all your responsibilities, remaining totally dedicated to your responsibilities, and dedicate all these actions to Ishvara, to the supreme reality, to the one who is the very creator of this world, who is all-knowing, all-powerful, Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvantaryami, who also resides in the heart of all beings. In Gita, Bhagavan says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Ishvara resides in the heart of all beings. He is present everywhere. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina. Bhagavan is present everywhere, but unseen, is not seen, unmanifest. He is present in us, he is present in our friends, neighbors, relatives, animals, birds, plants, everywhere. So first step in our sadhana is to fulfill all our responsibilities and offer this responsibility to Ishvara. Means understand that we are doing all this to get in tune with Ishvara. Dedicating to Ishvara means getting in tune with Ishvara. To realize and understand his presence in this world and in our own antakarana. Therefore, we have to perform those duties which are mentioned in our Shastras. Because the Shastras tell us such karmas which help us to tune to Ishvara. Any actions done, performed is not called Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is to do those activities which are prescribed by the Shastras, because such activities alone tune us to Ishvara. Just like we connect ourselves to the internet and all, using some ID, some password and all. So it should be precise. Then only we can get connected. If there is any mistake there, we will not get connected. Similarly, if we perform prescribed karmas properly, we will get connected to Ishvara. No doubt we have to do other activities to take care of our living, to take care of our family, and they also should be done, all these activities also should be done following the values of life, like ahimsa, asteya, ahimsa, satyam, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha. All these important values we should follow while performing all our activities, but we should proactively perform those activities which tune us to Ishvara. So Ishvara arpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodakam mukti sadakam. And if we do this, it will purify our antakarana. It will make it free of raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, so many impurities, and set us in tune with our supreme self. Mukti sadakam, it will take us towards mukti. So what are the karmas which will help us to develop that rapport with Ishvara? Ishvara is our own supreme self. Ishvara is ourself, present everywhere. So what are the karmas which will make me tune with Ishvara, which will create that rapport with Ishvara? That is being presented further by Bhagavan in a very beautiful way. He says, Kaya Vangmana Karyamuttamam Pujanam Japa Chintanam Kramat. He says, Ki Kaya Vangmana Karyamuttamam Pujanam Japas Chintanam Kramat. He says that now you have a body, you have your senses, you have your mind. Utilize all this and you have this sense of doership which we have to transcend ultimately, but at present we have this sense of doership and we are identified with this body, mind, intellect. So the sadhana should begin from where we are and it will take us to our ultimate destination. So we have to perform the sadhana, our spiritual practice, taking help of all our equipments, with the body, with our senses, with our antakarana. So here Bhagavan gives the sar of this sadhana. Ki kaya, vang and manaha. Kaya means with the body, vang with speech, and manaha with our antakarana, with our mind. The best sadhana which we can do, which will help us to tune with Ishvara, to get connected to Ishvara, to feel the presence of Ishvara in our life, in our activities, in the whole world. What is the sadhana? And that Bhagavan says, Pujanam Japas Chintanam Kramat. He gives this sadhana in a krama, in a sequence, starting with puja, a very basic, beautiful sadhana, which again graduates into japa, and then the sublime sadhana of chintanam. If we are able to do, if we do this sadhana properly, as guided by Bhagavan, we will be able to not only get tuned to Ishvara, but will be able to recognize, realize Ishvara as our own supreme self. Later on, Bhagavan tells in this Upadesa Saram itself, ki Isha Jiva yor Veshadhi Vida Sat Swarup Sat Isha Jiva yor Veshadhi Vida Sat Swabhavato Vastu Kevalam. He says that Ishvara and Jiva, Jiva means I, individual, Ishvara is my own supreme self. The difference is only in Vesha. Vesha means the outer conditioning. I am identified with my limited body. But Ishvara is one who has got this entire creation as his body. He is Vishvarupa. In Gita also, Bhagavan had given that Vishvarupa darshan. This whole Vishva is the body of that Ishvara. And I have my limited buddhi, and Ishvara has got this total buddhi. He is all knowing. But these are only the outer our dress. Essentially, I and Ishvara are one only. There is no difference between the real nature of my own self and Ishvara. In Gita also, Bhagavan tells Arjuna in the 13th chapter, hey Arjuna, idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitya vidhiyate etad yo vettitam prahuhu kshetratnyeti tad vidaha kshetratnyam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. He says this body is like kshetra, and the one who knows this body, kshetratnya, the knower. So we have so many different beings. All of them they have their bodies, and there is a knower in each body. But Bhagavan says, I am that knower in all. Kshetrajnam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. I am the knower in all. So Ishvara is our own self. But we have got as though disconnected from our own self. In the sense, we are unaware of our own supreme identity. And because of this not knowing ourselves, we have falsely assumed ourselves to be something else. So to begin with, we have to start tuning ourselves with Ishvara with the help of guidance given in the Shastras, guidance given by Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. So the first step is puja. With the body, you do puja of that Ishvara. With your speech, you chant the name of Ishvara. And with your mind and intellect, you meditate, you do chintan on Ishvara. If we can take these three steps, we will be able to gain that identity, realize our identity with Ishvara. So what is this puja? What is puja of Ishvara? So that also Bhagavan tells in the next verse. He says, Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrud Deva Pujanam. He says this Jagat which you see, consider this Jagat as Isha Yuktam. Ish, Jagat Ishadhi Yuktam. Ashtamurti Bhrut Deva Pujanam. So consider this whole world as Ishvara only. And serve this world. So Jagata Sevanam Deva Pujanam. Jagat Seva itself will be Deva Puja. Because Ishvara is in real nature, his Swarupa. He is unseen, he is unmanifest. But what we see is Bhagavan's Rupa only. What we are seeing is Bhagavan's Rupa. Just like oxygen and hydrogen, we cannot see. But when they come together, they form water, and water we can see. Ice we can see, snow we can see. But the essence of ice, water and snow is H2O only, gas. Similarly, we can see this world, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi. We can see the moon, the stars. We can see different beings. All these are Rupa of Ishvara. And Satyam Jnanam Ananta is the Swarupa of Ishvara. So with the help of this Rupa, we have to tune to Ishvara. See, just like we talk to some person, if we want to speak to some person, we talk to his, look at his body and speak. Though the person is not the body, we look at that body and speak. But when the person is asleep, we can't, even if we speak, he will not be able to hear. But when the person is awake, he expresses through the body. And when we speak, he can hear us. Similarly, Ishvara, though unmanifest, he expresses through this world. So when we speak, he can understand, he hears us. So considering the entire world as Ishvara, to serve this world itself is called Deva Puja. Jagata Ishati Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrut Deva Pujanam. And what is this, this body of Ishvara? His body, this world is made up of 8 parts, as though 8 limbs. Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal and Prithvi, the Pancha Mahabhut, as well as the sun and the moon. The sun and moon represents all the Sukshma Sharir and all the Jivas. So Pancha Mahabhut, sun, moon and Jivas together are like the body of Ishvara. When Arjuna saw that Vishwarup, he could see all the Devtas, all Rishi Munis, all human beings, everything in that Ishvara. He is Vishwarupa. So the first step is to do this puja of Ishvara, means in this world, considering seeing him in this world. So when we continuously do this seva of this world, seva of Ishvara through the world, then we will get tuned to Ishvara. We will get identified with Ishvara. We will develop that subtle sense to feel the presence of Ishvara. Just like when we do seva, like every day, even if we water the plants, we can identify, we can understand the plants. We can feel the presence of those plants. If we do the seva of the bird, the animal, the dog, the cats, any beings, we can feel connected to those beings. Seva is the technique by which we can identify. Therefore, when we do seva of our parents, our brothers, sisters, elders, relatives, friends, we can identify with them. we can get connected to their being. Not just to their physical body, we get connected to their being. Same thing happens when we do seva of Bhagavan, we get connected to him. It's a very beautiful sadhana, puja. We can begin by doing little puja, invoking Bhagavan's presence in an idol, but later on we have to see the presence of Ishvara in this whole world and do his puja. Like Tulsidas ji did. He saw Bhagavan, Sri Ram and Sita ji in this whole world. Siya Rama mai saba jaga jani, karahu pranam jori jugapan. He used to do namaskar to the whole world, seeing that world as Siya Ram. So when we continuously do this sadhana, our mind will start feeling the presence of Ishvara in this world. And when we feel the presence of Ishvara, our antakarana will become more and more pure. Because what is this raga, dvesha, kama, krodh? Is to see differences, is to see and feel differences in this world. When I am different, you are different, everything is different, we have this raga, dvesha, jealousy, pride, vanity, etc. But when we come to understand that everything is divine, everything is expression of that supreme reality, we will have that deep sense of peace and contentment in us. We will not, that negative tendencies will not rise easily, anger and jealousies and all, because everything is Ishvara only. With whom will you get jealous? With whom you will get angry? So puja is the first step, Bhagavan says. That your body will get tuned to Ishvara. You will feel that I am part of Ishvara's body only. I am part, my body is, which is made up of these 5 elements, Akash, Vayu, Jal, Agni and Prithvi, is Bhagavan's body only. And there is no death for these 5 elements. They don't die. They are always there. They undergo change. They keep on modifying, changing, but there is no death. Ishvara doesn't die. Ishvara's body also doesn't die. The world always remains. Either it is manifest or remains unmanifest. So we will feel our body getting tuned to Ishvara. We will feel that divinity in our body, in our actions through puja. We'll get connected to Ishvara. Then the next step is to do japa. And Bhagavan briefly mentioned japa also in the next verse. He said, Uttamastavad uchamandata chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam. Japa is to chant Bhagavan's name or any mantra which also indicates Bhagavan's that Swarupa. Best is Bhagavan's name. So many beautiful names are there. We can chant Bhagavan's name. Ram or Om or Krishna, Shiva. See, the whole world is not only made up of matter, but there are a lot of activities happening in this world. And the world also has got a rhythm. It is as though the Vani of Bhagavan only in this world. So when we chant Bhagavan's name, we get tuned to this Bhagavan's name which is there pervading, that sound which is there pervading the entire creation. Even nowadays they have done some research and they say that even that sound Om pervades the entire creation. It is there as the basic sound of the entire cosmos. Om. Similarly, all Bhagavan's names are very divine and most holy. And when we chant these names, we get tuned to the vibration, to the sound of this entire creation. We get tuned to Bhagavan's Vani only. Just like in music also, we have the tanpura playing in the background and we have to tune our swaras to it. Sa. It should match. So when it matches, both the thing start vibrating. If one tuning fork is there and if you bang it, another tuning fork with the same frequency will also start vibrating. So we have to chant Bhagavan's name and get connected through our Vani to the totality, the sound of Ishvara, which is there present, the natural sound of Ishvara, which is present in this whole cosmos. Also, when we chant Bhagavan's name, we are calling him. We are calling him. Ram, Ram, Ram. And when Bhagavan pays attention to us, when he listens to us, when he looks at us, all our impurities, all our sorrows, pain just disappear. Bhagavan Nama Smaran is one of the most fascinating and most beautiful sadhana mentioned in all our scriptures. Tulsidas Ji also talks about it elaborately in Ramayana. And in Kali Yuga also he says there is nothing greater than Bhagavan's name. Nahi Kali Karamana Bhagati Viveko Rama Nama Avalambana Eko. There is no other supreme sadhana than Bhagavan's name. So we can chant Bhagavan's name loudly, Uttam, Ucha. We can do Bhagavan's stuti and chant Bhagavan's name loudly also. Ucha mandataha chittajam japad dhyanam uttamam. We can chant in our own mind. We can chant softly. And by chanting Bhagavan's name itself, we get tuned to Ishvara. Ram, 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 Ram. We will get tuned to Ishvara. And this is not just some story and all. It is true. People, many sadhaks have experience in their life. Valmiki ji, just chanting Bhagavan's name, got tuned to Ishvara. Ram, 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 Ram. So japa is another sadhana which will further tune ourselves to Ishvara. We will develop the rapport. We will get connected. See, in the good old days, we used to have that radio and we used to tune by turning the knob to a particular radio station. And sometimes the sound will not be clear. So there was another knob for fine tuning also. So when we used to do that fine tuning, the sound used to be more clear. It used to catch the frequency clearly, properly. Similarly, through puja, we tune to Bhagavan, but through japa, we can do some more fine tuning to Ishvara, our own supreme self. So pujanam japaha. And the subtlest sadhana, which will then make us completely tune and identify with Ishvara, is chintanam. So Bhagavan says, now he talks about chintanam then. आज्यधारया श्रोतसा समं सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परम् भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिधा पावनीमता भावशून्य सद्भावसुस्थितिः भावना बलात् bhaktiruttama. Bhagavan says that you do now chintan. Chintan of Bhagavan's Swarupa. See, we do puja of Bhagavan's Rupa. We do japa of Bhagavan's Nam. And Bhagavan alone is expressing as this whole cosmos as his Nam and Rupa. In his Nam Rupa, Bhagavan expresses as this word. So whole world is Bhagavan's Rupa and all sound is Bhagavan's Nam only. But we have to ultimately understand Bhagavan's Swarupa, our own Swarupa. And for that, we have to do Chintan. Chintan of what? Chintan of Bhagavan's Swarupa. And for this, we have to take guidance from our Shastras, from our scriptures, from the Upanishads, from the Bhagavad Gita, from Brahma Sutra, from other scriptures like Puranas, from Itihas, from various Dharma Granthas. All of them speak about that one supreme reality alone. Vedaishcha sarvaihi ahameva vedyaha. Bhagavan says in all the Vedas, I alone am the Vedya. I alone have to be known. I am the main theme of all the Shastras. They speak in different ways, but all of them are speaking about that one supreme truth only. So we have to study from a proper teacher who is from a proper sampradaya, the Shastras, like Gita, Upanishads. And they talk about Bhagavan's nature. It says, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Bhagavan's nature is indicated with the help of this world. The world is the Rupa, Bhagavan's nature is that Swarupa. World is the effect, Bhagavan is the cause. So from the world, Bhagavan is indicated, that Brahma is indicated. Bhagavan is Brahma. Ishvara is also indicated as Brahma. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The world which we see is constantly changing. That changing existence is called Asat. Asat means changing existence. Asat doesn't mean unreal. Asat means changing existence. And Bhagavan is changeless existence, Sat. World is Jada. And Bhagavan is Jnana, Jnanam. World is limited, having many different parts. And Bhagavan is Ananta. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So we have to understand through this Karya Karana Sambandha, through the relationship of cause and effect. We have to understand the nature of Bhagavan. Just as when we want to understand gold, we take the help of the ornaments. We take the help of some form of gold. We take the help of the ornament. So there is ornament and there is a name given to that ornament. But both the name as well as the form belong to the gold. But in gold, in the Swarupa of gold, there is no name, there is no form. But the name and form also belongs to gold only. And if we want to know the gold, we have to go through the name and form. Similarly, in order to know Ishvara, we have to go through the world, because world is his name, world is his form, world is the rupa of Ishvara. And Ishvara has got his swarupa. So through this Karya Karana Sambandha, we understand the nature of Ishvara as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. We can intellectually appreciate the nature of Ishvara. With our Shuddha Buddhi, Ekagra Buddhi, Swachha Buddhi, Nirmala Buddhi, we can understand the nature of Ishvara. In Gita also Bhagavan says, Neyam yattat pravakshami yad jnatva mritamashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaduchyate. He says, first you understand that Neya Brahma, that Brahma which has to be known, which is different from Sat and Asat. Having known which you will become immortal, which is Anadi. So that Neya Brahma we can understand with the help of our Buddhi. And once we understand that Neya Brahma with the Buddhi, the Shastras say that Brahma you are. Tat Tvam Ase. You are that Brahma. You means who? I. Yes. That Brahma which is the very source of this whole world, that Brahma which is all pervading, that Brahma which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, yeah, that Brahma, I am that Brahma, yes. And who is this I? The Pratyek Atma, the innermost self. That innermost self which we experience, it is not some vague idea, theory. We experience ourselves. We experience ourselves along with our body, mind in the waking. We experience ourselves without the body, only the mind in our dream. And we experience ourselves in deep sleep without any conditionings. That self which is experienced in deep sleep without any conditionings is the Swarup of my own self, which is Brahma. All that is said about Brahma is seen directly in that deep sleeper, in that Sushupta Atma. When I wake up and I think about my deep sleep, I say, I slept happily. So when I wake up and think about my deep sleep, I know three things about it. One is that I was existing. Another is I knew the absence of body, mind, the world. So that knowledge was there. And third, I say I slept happily, happiness was there. So without the body, mind, and the world, I experience my own existence, knowledge, and bliss. Because that is my Swarupa. And that Swarupa itself is called Brahma. So what I experience as I, and have identified with this body, mind, etc., I have to drop that identification and understand that I as Brahma. Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jivve nacha ghrana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. I am not this body, mind, intellect. I am not the five elements. I am not the senses, mind, antakarana. I am the chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. So what I experience as my own innermost self, but I am not sure about its nature. Means I don't know its nature. I don't know my own nature, and therefore falsely identify with the body mind. With the help of scriptures, I come to know that I is really Brahma. I am Brahma. So there are two steps. First is to understand the nature of Brahma. So I become the knower of Brahma. So there is still that Bheda Bhava is there. So I, with the help of my purified and pure buddhi, understand that Brahma. So through constant chintanam on that Brahma, means Ishvara. Brahma is Ishvara. Constant chintan on Ishvara, I have to understand the nature of Brahma, nature of Ishvara. So I become the knower and Ishvara's nature becomes the known. So there is Bheda Bhava. But then thereafter, I have to understand that Ishvara am I, that Brahma am I. So Abheda Bhava, Aham Brahmasmi, I, Satchidananda, Atma, is that Satchidananda Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, that Abheda Bhava. I should have that Abheda Bhava. Just like when I look into a mirror, I see my face. So that face belongs to me only. But that face is seen in the mirror. My face is here. What is seen in the mirror is just a reflection. The real face is here. So after seeing my face in the mirror, I have to, when I'm seeing the face in the mirror, there is seeming Dvaita is there. I am different, that face is different. But then I have to close my eyes and experience the face by itself. Means transcend the reflection and experience my face by itself. Similarly, intellectually, when I appreciate the nature of Brahma, by analyzing this world through Karya Karana Sambandha and understanding the Neya Brahma through my purified buddhi, it's like having a reflection, seeing the reflection, my own reflection. But when I experience myself as that Brahma which I have understood intellectually is really myself. Aham, aham. So I transcend this intellectual understanding and directly experience my own self. I have to achieve that paradigm shift. From Dvaita, I have to experience that Advaita. From objectively knowing and understanding me, I have to subjectively experience myself. That is Abheda Bhavana. And once we practice this for a long time, then we will gain abidance in our own self. And that is what Bhagavan is indicating in these 3 verses. First, he says that the chintan on that swarup of Ishvara, which is Brahma, chintan on Brahma should be saral. Saral means continuous. Ajya dharaya shrota sasamam sarala chintanam viralata param. Like suppose a melted ghee, if you pour from one vessel to another vessel, you will see the stream of that ghee falling down without a break. Or if you see a river or a stream, the waters moving, they will continuously move without a break. Similarly, doing chintan on Bhagavan's Swarupa should be without a break. Without constantly, when we do this chintan, we will get tuned to that Ishvara. Just like when we do the riyaz in music, in the beginning, our swaras may not match properly. Sa may not match the sa properly. It will be slightly above the frequency or below the frequency. But when you practice constantly, sa, 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 it will start matching. Similarly, when we constantly meditate, constantly do chintan on Bhagavan's Swarupa, we will be able to think about it constantly and appreciate Bhagavan's nature with our buddhi. So that is called Sarala Chintanam. Sarala Chintanam Virala Tap Param. Bhagavan says Saral Chintan is better than Viral, than Chintan with lot of gaps and obstacles. Constantly we should be able to think about Ishvara, that our buddhi will understand. See, when a mirror is clean, when you have a clean mirror, you can see your face clearly, or whatever object is kept in front of the mirror will be seen clearly. You can see this picture also. You can see the object, whichever is kept in front of the mirror, very clearly. But suppose you want to have the image of space in that mirror, what should you do? You just have to clean the mirror as clean as possible and just expose it to space. Then what you see in the mirror is the image of the space. Similarly, whatever comes in front of the buddhi, the image is created in the buddhi mirror. Buddhi is like a mirror. But when the buddhi becomes absolutely clean, pure, and when we contemplate on that Brahma, then as though the image of Brahma gets created in our buddhi, that is called Brahmakara Vritti, Akhandakara Vritti. And with that, we come to understand theoretically what that Brahma is. But then we have to understand that Brahma am I. Tat tvamasi, aham brahmasmi, ayam atma brahma, prajnanam brahma. So that in the beginning there is bheda bhavana. Bhagavan says, bheda bhavanat soham ityaso bhavana bhida pavani mata. Bheda bhavana is good. In the beginning, we have to understand that Brahma with the help of a buddhi. But finally, we have to do abheda chintan only. That Brahma am I. Aham brahmasmi. And constant chintan means constant abidance in this understanding. We have to abide in the understanding that I and Brahma are one. Not similar, but one only. What is Brahma and what is I is one. There is only one, and that is Brahma. And when we constantly bring this bhava in our self, that aham brahmasmi, I am that Brahma, soham, 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 then that bhava will lead to that experience of aparoksha anubhuti of myself as Brahma. I have the experience of myself, but that assertion will happen that yes, I am this Brahma. And once that firm conviction happens within that yes, I am Brahma, then even the chintan is not required then. Then all the chintan will also come to an end, and I will gain abidance in my own self as Brahma. Bhava shunya, sadbhava sustitihi. Bhagavan calls it sadbhava sustitihi. Good abidance in my own self as Sat. Sat Bhava Sustitihi Bhavana Balat. When we practice this Abheda Bhavana Chintan for a long time, we will gain that spiritual strength and we will gain abidance in our own self. Jnana Nishtha will happen. Bhagavan uses the term Sadbhava Sustiti or Ristale Manaha or Atma Samstitihi. All these are same meaning, or Ristale Manaswastata. So we will gain that abidance in our own self. That's called Jnana Nishtha. And once we gain that Jnana Nishtha, all the avidya and the vikar of avidya will get eliminated and we will realize our own self as Brahma. We will gain what is called Jivan Mukti. When we gain that firm abidance, we will become Sthita Prajna. So Bhagavan in this 9 verses itself gave the very sar of our spiritual sadhana, which he began with indicating what is our problem. He diagnosed our problem as avidya, which causes this false sense of doership, knowership, enjoyership, kartrutva, bhoktrutva, nyatrutva bhavana. So in order to get rid of this and know myself as that Brahma, I have to begin from where I am. And the beginning is through karma yoga, dedicating all my karmas, my varnashrama dharma, whatever swadharma I have, dedicate them to Ishvara. Then do special karma like puja, japa, chintan and get tuned to Ishvara. First by puja, considering the whole world as Ishvara Swarupa. Ishvara Swarupa, do puja, seva of this world, chant Bhagavan's name and do japa and get tuned to Ishvara's nama. That sound of Ishvara. And then do chintan first with Bheda Bhavana, understand the nature of that Swarupa of Brahma, and then understand that Brahma as I. So briefly, I gave this overview. Now, if you have any questions, you may ask.
Thank you, Swamiji, for a very enlightening session and so much food for thought, I would say. Yes, we would wait for a few minutes and see if you have any questions. Now is the time to share those questions. You can share it in the Q&A box and then I will read it out to Swamiji. Swamiji, as we wait, I have a question I wanted to ask you.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Ramana Maharshi's teachings have been sometimes interpreted as, some people call it as Neo Vedanta. They consider it as deviating or going different from traditional Vedanta or Shankara's Vedanta. I mean, especially, I think there are certain Neo Vedantin teachers who speak about how no sadhana, no karma is needed for chitta shuddhi and all. You can directly jump into be here now state. So, what are your thoughts on that? On yours, based on your study of Ramana Maharshi, what is your opinion?
No, what they are thinking is not proper. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi also taught and followed the traditional path. And he expressed the essence of the teaching of our Shastras only in his own beautiful way. When he talks about the Shastras also ultimately aim to make us realize our own nature. Who am I? Nanya. We have to inquire and understand what is my nature. But my nature, I have to understand with the help of our Shastras and take guidance from them also. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi ji is to give a lot of stress on studying Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad and taking guidance from them also. And what the teaching of Bhagavan is in tune with the teachings of our Shastra. And this we will understand more clearly when we see in our session tomorrow also. So his teaching are traditional only. And many people actually, they try to simplify it, but it is not as simple as it seems. Many times we just sit quietly and try to inquire, who am I? But they are doing the inquiry of that ahankar only. Bhagwan's inquiry is not so simple and not so superficial. Through this inquiry, we have to comprehend our Pratyagatma, which is beyond all thoughts, beyond all vikar, which is actually, we have named it as Aham, but it doesn't even have that name Aham in it, which is so subtle. And that Pratyagatma is Brahma. So by inquiring into who am I, we have to inquire into that I, which is experience when we were separated from our body, our mind, when we were in deep sleep. What we have experienced in deep sleep is the Pratyagatma. So through inquiry, we have to locate that. In Kathopanishad also, it is said that most of the time our senses are outgoing, paranchikhani vetruna swayambhu, and very few people can turn their attention within and experience this Pratyagatma. And that's what Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi used to advise, that turn your attention from everything else and try to find out who is this I. Recognize that I. So I think and I believe that he was a traditional teacher only. In fact, if you go away from tradition, if you go away from what the Vedas and the Upanishads are saying, then you are not teaching that supreme truth only. It will be Veda Bahya.
Swamiji, we have received few questions. I'll just read them out one by one. The first one is, what is that? What is Sushupti state? I think they want clarification on the Sushupti state.
See, we have what we call waking, three states: waking, dream, and deep sleep. So waking is when I am aware of this world through my senses, means I am identified with my senses and I am aware of this world. I can experience Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. But when I constantly participate with this world, our senses get tired and they get withdrawn. They get withdrawn into our mind. So when the senses are withdrawn into the mind, I become unaware of the world, but the mind continues to be active. And I am asleep to the world, but the mind is active, and the mind keeps on bringing out things from its vasanas, from whatever is stored. That is what we call dream. So we are the seers of dream. We are proactively, we can't do anything there. We just see our dream, whatever is projected by the mind. But after some time, the mind also gets tired and the mind stops functioning. It retires, it stops. So when the mind stops functioning, that is what we call Sushupti Avastha. In fact, in Sushupti Avastha, the mind doesn't function, nor the senses. But the Atma doesn't go to sleep. Atma is still there. Pratyagatma doesn't go to sleep. But when the mind is asleep, when the mind is not functioning, that avastha is what we call Sushupti Avastha, the dreamless sleep. And when we wake up, we try to inquire, we try to understand a dreamless sleep. And the only thing I can say about it is that I slept happily. I did not know anything. And actually the real nature of the deep sleep we can understand only through the Shastras only. Because it is so subtle that our senses were not functioning there. Mind was not functioning. So we cannot know it through our senses or mind. So that dreamless sleep is what is called Sushupti Avastha. And I, in my dreamless sleep, is what is called Sushupta Atma. And that Sushupta Atma is what is called, is also called Pratyagatma, is also called Kshetrajna. And that Kshetrajna is indicated as Brahma.
Thank you, Swamiji. We have one more question. Please let us know the indicators that that help us to know when should start the step of Chintanam with the help of Guru.
Actually, the more steady we become in the initial sadhana, like karma yoga, like fulfilling all our responsibilities. Actually, karma yoga continues till we gain self-knowledge, till we gain theoretical understanding of ourselves. Means karma yoga, even Shravan and Manan is karma yoga only. When we gain the understanding of ourselves, theoretical appreciation of ourselves while performing our duties and all, when we gain that theoretical appreciation of ourselves, then we can seriously meditate and gain that abidance in that self. So my suggestion is that we have to become more and more firm in our initial sadhana of karma yoga, of puja, of japa, and then do your chintan also simultaneously. And as we continue with our sadhana, we ourselves gracefully will glide into higher and higher sadhana. We don't have to give up anything, but automatically we will move into higher sadhana. So first be firm in puja and japa, and then simultaneously do chintan. And that chintan will lead us to our abidance in our own self.
Thank you, Swamiji. We have two follow-up questions on your explanation of Sushupti. I'll read both of them together so that you can quickly answer them.
Okay.
One is, what is the difference between Sushupti Avastha and Turiya Avastha? And the second question is Sushupti state different from what we experience during dhyana when the mind is still?
What is the second question?
That is the Sushupti Avastha same or different from the state we experience when in meditation, in dhyana avastha, when the mind is fully still?
See, Sushupti Avastha, when we wake up from Sushupti Avastha, we are ignorant only. We again identify with our body, mind and all, and consider ourselves as a limited being. So it is, the scriptures say that in Sushupti Avastha also that avidya upadhi is there. But that when we come to understand our own self properly, then that Sushupti Avastha itself is Turiya Avastha. Turiya Avastha and Sushupti Avastha, that way is not then different. But in the initial stages, as experienced now, we have our ignorance is there in the waking. So that ignorance, we say that it is there in the dream and the deep sleep also. So when the ignorance gets eliminated through proper sadhana, then Sushupti Avastha itself is Turiya Avastha. There is no difference. Also, while meditating, it depends on how you are meditating. After gaining conviction of ourself, if we meditate, and that is the proper procedure. After gaining the conviction of the self, we should meditate. and gain identity with our own inner self. But without gaining the self-knowledge, if we try to meditate, then that is called upasana. So while doing upasana, sometimes we may go into something called tandra. We might go into some absorption. We might feel very calm, peaceful. It will be something like sleep only. So meditation will become fruitful only after gaining proper understanding of ourselves. Therefore, it is called, in Vedanta, it's called nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means after gaining that proper nishchaya of the self, we have to meditate. And then that turiya avastha, actually turiya is not avastha. Turiya is the very nature of our own self. So that self is present in the waking, in the dream, in the deep sleep also. So once we realize the self, then every, whether you are awake or dreaming or asleep, you are in turiya only. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was always in turiya. Turiya is not avastha. Turiya is the name, another name for Atma only.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. One final question from my side, I would say.
Okay.
The inquiry into who am I, Nanyar, that Ramana Maharshi speaks. So when I read him a bit here and there, the sense it gave me was that it is same or at least similar as the Nididhyasana of the Mahavakyas that is suggested, or is there a difference? I mean, the only difference I could see is that one is of the form of inquiry, the other is of a form of a reflection on or contemplation on something that there is already a nishchaya.
See, actually, without the proper nishchay of the self, just by this inquiry, we may not be able to really gain that abidance in ourselves, because it might take us somewhere else only. We have to have proper guidance, proper knowledge from the Shastra. Otherwise, people spend years together in this inquiry without reaching anywhere. Because it's very tricky actually. Our self is very tricky, and it gets expressed as this ahankar. Ahankar is very tricky. So in the name of inquiry into the self, most of the time people are inquiring into their ahankar only. So no doubt Bhagavan had given that essence, and if we get proper guidance, then that itself will lead us to our goal. With the theoretical appreciation that this aham is that pratyek atma, and it is really Brahma, when we do that inquiry, then we will gain abidance in our own supreme self.
Thank you, Swamiji, for this clarification. And I personally look forward to tomorrow's session, and I'm sure all our audience will also be looking forward to it. And thank you again on the behalf of Advaita Academy and all our viewers. Viewers, with this, we come to a conclusion. Yes, Swamiji. You want to end with
conclude with a prayer?
Yes, Swamiji. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritangamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Thank you again, Swamiji. Yes, with this, we conclude today's session. Do join us tomorrow also at 12 p.m. for the second and concluding part of this talk on Upadesha Saram. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.